The night shift at Proxima Station was usually quiet. Tai Min sat at his workstation, watching the endless stream of signals from across the galaxy. As a junior xenobiologist, his job was simple but boring. He had to listen to radio signals from different planets and catalog them for the research teams. Most signals were the same: weather reports, news broadcasts, educational programs about farming or mathematics. Sometimes he found music, which was always nice. But tonight felt different. Tai Min adjusted his headphones and frowned. There was something strange coming from the direction of a small yellow star. The signal was strong, much stronger than usual for such a distant system. He checked his star charts. The system was called Sol, and it had several planets. One planet showed signs of intelligent life. The beings there called themselves humans. Computer, enhanced signal clarity, Tai Min said. The speakers crackled, and suddenly he could hear voices. Human voices. They were speaking in different languages, but his translator was working overtime to make sense of it all. What he heard made his blue skin turn pale. Run. It's coming for us. The monster is in the house. We have to get out of here before it kills us all. Tai Min sat back in his chair. His forearms trembled as he reached for the communication device. This was not a normal broadcast. This sounded like an emergency situation. Were the humans under attack? He listened more carefully. The voices were full of terror. There was screaming, sounds of violence. Someone was crying, then silence. But then, strangely, music started playing. Soft, peaceful music. Tai Min shook his head. Maybe the signal had switched to a different broadcast. He kept listening. A new voice started speaking. It was calm and friendly. Coming up next, we have the classic horror movie Night of the Living Dead. This film follows a group of people trapped in a house while zombies attack. Tai Min's large eyes widened. Zombies? What were zombies? The broadcast continued. More voices, more screaming, more violence. But every so often, there would be breaks with that same calm voice talking about different movies and films. He recorded everything and played it back. The pattern was clear. These humans were broadcasting recordings of terrible events. People were being attacked by monsters. Some kind of creatures called zombies were eating other humans. There were other things too. Creatures that could change shape, humans who killed other humans for no reason, and supernatural beings that could possess people's bodies. The worst part was that the humans seemed to know these things were happening. They had names for all the different types of monsters. They knew how to fight them. They had strategies and weapons ready. What kind of world did these humans live on? Tai Min spent the rest of his shift collecting more signals. Each one was worse than the last. He found broadcasts about humans being hunted by masked killers. Stories about entire cities being destroyed by giant monsters. Tales of humans fighting against demons from other dimensions. By the time his supervisor, Commander Hyejin, arrived for the morning shift, Tai Min had filled 3 data storage units with human broadcasts. Commander, Tai Min said, his voice shaking, you need to see this. Hyejin was a tall, elegant being from the Centauri system. Her silver skin gleamed under the station lights, and her 3 eyes focused on Tai Min with concern. What did you find, Tai Min? Signals from the Sol system, from the humans. He handed her the first data unit. Commander, I think they might be the most dangerous species we've ever encountered. Hyejin raised an eyebrow. That's a serious statement. Show me. Tai Min played the first recording. The sounds of terror filled the command center. Hyejin's 3 eyes widened as she heard humans screaming about monsters and death. This is a distress signal? She asked. No, Commander. It gets worse. He showed her dozens of recordings. Each one showed humans dealing with different types of threats. But what disturbed Hyejin the most was how prepared they seemed. These humans had detailed knowledge about fighting monsters. They knew exactly what weapons to use against different creatures. They had plans for surviving attacks. Play that last one again, Hyejin ordered. The recording showed humans discussing something called a zombie apocalypse survival guide. They talked about the best places to hide, what supplies to gather, and how to kill the walking dead. "Commander," Taemin said quietly, "they have guides for surviving monster attacks. They teach their young ones how to fight these creatures. This isn't just one emergency, this is their normal life." Hyejin was quiet for a long time. She walked around the command center thinking. Finally, she turned back to Taemin. "Get Dr. Wu Jin up here now." Dr. Wu Jin was the station's chief psychologist. He specialized in understanding how different alien species thought and behaved. When he arrived, Hyejin showed him the recordings. Dr. Wu Jin was a small, round being with gray skin and large, thoughtful eyes. He listened to every recording carefully, taking notes on his electronic pad. "Fascinating," he said finally, "and terrifying." "What do you think, Doctor?" Hyejin asked. "Based on these recordings, the humans appear to live in a constant state of warfare, not just against other humans, but against supernatural creatures that most species would consider impossible." He pulled up his notes on the main screen. "Look at the evidence. They have detailed knowledge about fighting zombies, walking dead creatures that eat living flesh. They know about vampires, beings that drink blood. They understand werewolves, creatures that change from human to wolf form. They have experience with ghosts, demons, and other supernatural entities." Taemin nodded. "And they're not just running away from these things. They're fighting back." "Exactly," Dr. Wu Jin continued. "Most species would flee their planet if faced with such threats. But humans seem to have developed an entire culture around surviving these attacks. They create weapons. They make plans. They train their people." Hyejin looked at the data with growing concern. "What kind of evolution would create a species like this?" "A harsh one," Dr. Wu Jin replied. "Very harsh. The humans must have faced these supernatural threats for thousands of years. Only the strongest, smartest, and most adaptable survived. What we're seeing here is the end result, a species that can handle anything." The three beings sat in silence, processing what they had learned. Finally, Hyejin spoke. "We need to report this to the Galactic Council immediately. If humans ever develop space travel, every species in the galaxy could be in danger." She looked at the recordings again. Humans fighting monsters with nothing but simple weapons and determination. Humans surviving in impossible situations. Humans who seem to treat supernatural horrors as just another problem to solve. "Contact Ambassador Kyung-soo," she ordered. "Tell him we've discovered something that could change everything we know about dangerous species in the galaxy." As Taemin sent the message, he couldn't help but wonder what other secrets the human broadcasts might contain, and he couldn't shake the feeling that they had only seen the beginning of what humans were capable of. Ambassador Kyung-soo had never seen the Galactic Council chamber so quiet. The massive dome-shaped room usually buzzed with conversations in dozens of languages. Representatives from over 50 species would discuss trade, science, and peaceful exploration. Today, everyone sat in perfect silence. The reason for their silence was playing on the giant screen at the center of the chamber. "No, please don't hurt me," screamed a human on the recording. A creature with rotting flesh and hungry eyes grabbed the human and bit into his neck. Blood flowed everywhere. Several alien representatives made sick sounds. The peaceful ones from Kepler 442b covered their eyes with their tentacles. The crystal beings from the Vega system dimmed their natural light in distress. "This is what humans call normal entertainment," Kyung-soo announced to the chamber. His voice was steady, but inside he felt deeply disturbed by what they had discovered. He had spent 3 days reviewing all the recordings from Proxima Station. Each one was worse than the last. Humans being hunted by killers wearing masks. Humans fighting against armies of the walking dead. Humans being possessed by evil spirits that made them do terrible things to their own families. "Are we certain these are not fictional stories?" asked Representative So Young from the Verdanian Council. Her green skin had turned pale yellow, a sign of fear among her people. So Young had been the strongest supporter of making contact with Earth. Her species believed in peaceful first contact with all new civilizations. She had written dozens of proposals about the benefits of meeting. Humans. Now she wished she had never heard of them. We have analyzed the broadcast carefully, Kyung-soo replied. These appear to be documentary records of actual events. The humans discuss these situations as if they are common knowledge. They have detailed survival guides. They teach their children about these threats. He switched to another recording. This one showed a human family trying to survive in a house while monsters attacked outside. The father was explaining to his young son how to use a weapon against the creatures. See how they prepare their offspring for combat, Kyung-soo pointed out. This is not the behavior of a peaceful species telling stories. This is a warrior race training the next generation. General Da-hyun from the Crimson Plains stood up. His red skin was darker than usual, showing his anger and concern. The Crimson Plains people were known as the strongest warriors in the galaxy, but even they looked worried. If these recordings are accurate, humans are more dangerous than any species we have encountered, Da-hyun announced. They do not just fight other intelligent beings. They fight supernatural forces that should not exist. He activated his own display screen. Look at this evidence. Humans fighting creatures that cannot die unless you destroy their heads. Humans battling shapeshifters that can look like anyone. Humans defeating beings that can possess other creatures and control their minds. The chamber filled with nervous whispers. The Blue Collective from Tau Ceti sent waves of fear through their shared consciousness. The hive mind from Proxima Centauri buzzed with worried communications. What military force could stand against beings who regularly fight the supernatural? Da-hyun continued. Our weapons are designed for normal warfare. How do you fight an enemy who has experience with ghosts and demons? Trade Minister Boram from the Ferengi sector accessed her economic calculations. Her small, clever eyes moved quickly as she processed the data. The economic implications are severe, she announced. If humans are as dangerous as these recordings suggest, any trade relationship would be impossible. Who would buy goods from a species that lives with constant monster attacks? What products could they offer except weapons and survival techniques? She brought up holographic charts showing trade routes throughout the galaxy. Worse, if humans develop space travel, they might bring their monster problems with them. Imagine zombies spreading to other planets. Imagine supernatural creatures traveling between star systems. Our entire economic structure could collapse. Dr. Chan Wu, the galaxy's leading expert on dangerous species, had been studying the recordings for days. His people, the scholars of Andromeda, were known for their careful analysis and logical thinking. I have compared these human recordings to our database of all known dangerous species, he announced. Humans appear to face threats that are beyond anything in our records. He showed images of the most dangerous creatures known to galactic science: space pirates, giant predators from hostile worlds, poisonous plants that could think and move. None of these compare to what humans deal with every day, Chanwu said. They fight enemies that can infect others and create more of themselves. They battle creatures that grow stronger by consuming fear. They face opponents that cannot be killed by normal methods. Religious leader Sunmi from the spiritual worlds had been meditating on the recordings. Her species communicated directly with cosmic forces and understood things beyond physical reality. There is something deeply wrong with the human homeworld, she declared. No planet should have so many supernatural threats. Either humans have angered powerful cosmic forces, or their world sits at the center of some kind of dimensional gateway. Her words sent chills through the chamber. The idea that Earth might be a doorway to supernatural dimensions terrified even the bravest species. If that is true, Sunmi continued, then humans are not just dangerous because they are warriors. They are dangerous because they attract supernatural chaos wherever they go. Kyung-soo watched the fear spread through the chamber. Representatives were whispering urgently to their home worlds. Some were already making plans to move their colonies away from Earth's direction in space. But one voice spoke up from the back of the chamber. Anthropologist Yoon Ah from the Scientific Union had been quietly studying the recordings with a different perspective. Fellow representatives, she said, standing slowly, I believe we may be making a mistake in our interpretation of these signals. The chamber turned to look at her. General Da-hyun's red skin darkened with anger. What mistake could there be? We can see humans fighting monsters with our own eyes. That is exactly my concern, Yuna replied. We can see it too clearly. These recordings are too detailed, too well organized. They follow patterns that seem almost artistic. But her words were lost in the growing panic. Ambassador Kyungsoo called for order. The evidence is clear, he announced. Humans are the most dangerous species we have ever discovered. I propose we place their entire star system under quarantine. No ships should go near Earth. No communication should be attempted. The vote was unanimous. 53 species agreed to avoid Earth completely. As the representatives filed out, making emergency calls to their home worlds, Yuna remained in her seat. She continued studying the recordings, looking for clues that others had missed. Something was not right about this whole situation. But in the growing fear about the human threat, no one wanted to listen to her doubts. News traveled fast across the galaxy. Within 1 week of the Galactic Council meeting, every major civilization knew about the human threat. What started as scientific curiosity had become the greatest fear in galactic history. On the Crystal, world of Zirion Prime, scientist Yunsu worked day and night in her laboratory. The crystalline collective had always been the most advanced species in technology. Their crystal bodies could process information faster than any organic brain. But even they were struggling to understand how to defend against humans. Computer, analyze human combat patterns from the recordings, Yunsu commanded. The computer's voice was calm and electronic. Analysis complete. Humans show ability to adapt to any threat within minutes. They use improvised weapons effectively. They work together in small groups under extreme stress. They show no fear of death when protecting others. Yunsu's crystal body flashed with worried colors. Show me their weapon technology. Images appeared on her screen. Humans fighting monsters with simple tools. Wooden sticks, kitchen knives, farm equipment, even pieces of broken furniture. What scared Yunsu was how effective these simple weapons were in human hands. They do not need advanced technology, she said to her research team. They can turn anything into a weapon. How do we defend against an enemy like that? Her assistant, Dr. Sung Ho, displayed his own findings. It gets worse. Look at this recording about human zombie survival tactics. The screen showed humans discussing the best ways to fortify buildings. They knew exactly which materials to use, how to set traps, where to place guards. They had clearly done this many times before. They are not just fighters, Sung Ho observed. They are strategic thinkers who have perfected the art of survival warfare. Yunsu made a decision that would change galactic defense forever. Begin development of new security systems. Assume humans can get past any normal defenses. Design for enemies who can adapt to any situation. Meanwhile, on the military world of Korak Station, General Inho was having his own problems. The Koraxian Defense Force was famous throughout the galaxy for their discipline and strength. They had never lost a battle against any species. But the human recordings had shaken their confidence. Soldiers, attention! Inho barked to his troops. The assembled warriors came from 12 different species, all united under the Galactic Defense Alliance. Today we begin new training exercises. We must prepare for the possibility of human contact. He activated the training simulator. The room changed into a dark, spooky environment that looked like the human recordings. According to human documentation, supernatural threats can attack at any time. Zombie creatures that look like dead people but still move and attack. Shapeshifters that can look like your fellow soldiers. Possessed beings who act normal until they try to kill you. The soldiers looked around nervously. They had trained to fight space pirates, hostile aliens, and dangerous creatures, but ghosts and demons were beyond their experience. Sir, asked Captain Minho, a brave warrior from the Tiger Nebula. How do we fight enemies that cannot be killed by normal weapons? That is what we must learn, Inho replied. According to human survival guides, different supernatural creatures have different weaknesses. We must memorize all of them. For weeks, the soldiers trained in scenarios copied from human recordings. They practiced fighting zombie hordes. They learned to identify possessed teammates. They studied ways to kill vampires and werewolves. But the more they trained, the more respect they gained for human abilities. These humans fight monsters that we can barely handle with full military equipment, observed Sergeant Dewan, and they do it with whatever they can find lying around. The religious leaders of the galaxy were having their own crisis. On the HFY Sacred World of Lumina, spiritual guide Sunmi held an emergency meeting with holy representatives from 50 worlds. Brothers and sisters, Sunmi addressed the gathering, we face a spiritual crisis unlike anything in our history. The Great Hall of Lumina was filled with beings of pure light, energy creatures and other species that existed partly in spiritual dimensions. They understood supernatural forces better than anyone. The human world appears to be cursed, continued Sunmi. It attracts demons, ghosts, and other dark entities. If humans spread across the galaxy, they may bring this curse with them. Elder Hyunwoo from the light beings floated forward. His form shimmered with worry. I have meditated on the human recordings for many days. The supernatural activity around their planet is beyond anything we have seen. Either they have committed great sins against cosmic order, or their world sits at the center of a dimensional weakness. What do you recommend? Asked Sunmi. We must prepare protective rituals for all worlds. If humans bring supernatural chaos with them, our planets must be ready. Across the galaxy, similar preparations were taking place. The healers of Epsilon Eridani began stockpiling medical supplies for supernatural injuries. The merchants of Tau Ceti removed Earth from all future trade route plans. The explorers of Wolf 359 marked human space as forbidden territory. But on the research station Omega 7, anthropologist Yoon Ah was working alone in her laboratory. While everyone else prepared for war, she was trying to solve a puzzle that bothered her more each day. Computer, analyze the structure of human recordings. Analysis shows consistent patterns. Each recording follows similar timing. All recordings include periodic breaks with calm commentary. Multiple recordings reference the same supernatural creatures using identical descriptions. Yuna frowned. That is strange. If these were real events happening to different humans at different times, why would they all be so similar? She studied the recordings more carefully. There were things that did not make sense. The humans in dangerous situations often acted in ways that seemed almost theatrical. Their responses were dramatic but strangely predictable. Computer, compare human recordings to known examples of artistic expression from other species. Processing, significant similarities found with Andromedan theatrical performances, vegan storytelling rituals, and Centaurian educational entertainment. Yuna's eyes widened. Entertainment? She worked through the night, analyzing every detail. The more she studied, the more convinced she became that something was wrong with the official interpretation. But when she tried to contact other scientists, she found that no one wanted to listen. The galaxy was too busy preparing for the human threat. On Earth, humans went about their normal lives, completely unaware that 53 alien civilizations were terrified of them. They continued making horror movies, telling scary stories, and enjoying the thrill of safe scares. In Hollywood, director Park Jin-woo was editing his latest zombie film. In Seoul, actress Kim So-ra was preparing for her role as a vampire hunter. In New York, writer Lee Jun-ho was working on his new ghost story. None of them knew that their entertainment was being studied as evidence of humanity's dangerous nature. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for the day humans would develop space, travel, and bring their supernatural chaos to the stars. But Yuna kept working, convinced that everyone had made a terrible mistake. 6 months had passed since the Galactic Council declared humans the most dangerous species in the galaxy. But Admiral Ji-hoon had a problem. As the leader of the Galactic Alliance Defense Force, he needed to know exactly what kind of threat humanity really was. We cannot prepare proper defenses without direct observation, he told the emergency council meeting. We need to send a ship to the Sol system. The council chamber erupted in frightened voices. Representatives from dozens of species shouted their objections. Too dangerous, cried the delegate from Vega Prime. They will destroy any ship that approaches, warned the Centaurian ambassador. The supernatural forces around their planet will corrupt our crew, declared the spiritual leader from Andromeda. Admiral Ji-hoon raised his hand for silence. He was a tall, strong being from the warrior planet Korax Prime. His people had never backed down from any fight, and he was not about to start now. "I understand the risks," he said calmly. "That is why I am asking for volunteers only. We will take the most heavily armed ship in the fleet. We will approach carefully and observe from a safe distance." It took 3 weeks to find a crew brave enough to approach Earth. The ship chosen was the Stellar Guardian, the most advanced warship in the galaxy. It had weapons powerful enough to destroy a small moon, shields that could stop any known attack, and engines fast enough to escape any danger. Communications specialist Min Seo was the first to volunteer. She was a small, intelligent being from the telepathic worlds of Sion. Her people could sense thoughts and emotions from great distances. "If humans are as dangerous as we believe," she told Ji-hoon, "my abilities will give us early warning." Security Chief Dong-wook was next. He came from a species that could see in multiple dimensions and sense supernatural activity. His job would be to watch for any sign of the ghosts, demons, or other supernatural creatures that surrounded Earth. Cultural analyst Soo-jin joined the crew because she specialized in understanding how different species behaved. Her job was to study human actions and predict what they might do when they discovered alien visitors. Dr. Wonbin, the fleet's best psychologist, volunteered because he wanted to understand how a species could remain sane while living with constant, supernatural threats. The journey to Earth took 2 months. During that time, the crew studied every human recording they had collected. They prepared for every possible scenario. "Remember," Ji-hoon told his crew as they approached the Sol system, "humans have been fighting supernatural creatures for their entire history. They will not be afraid of us. They will probably try to capture our ship and study our technology." "Sir," asked pilot Sung-ho, "what if they try to board us?" "Then we retreat immediately," Ji-hoon replied. "Under no circumstances should we allow humans onto this ship. Who knows what supernatural entities might be traveling with them?" As the Stellar Guardian entered Earth's solar system, the crew expected to find signs of the constant warfare described in the human recordings. They thought they would see orbital defense platforms designed to fight supernatural invaders. They expected to detect the energy signatures of demons and ghosts. Instead, they found something completely unexpected. "Sir," Min Seo reported from her communication station, "I am detecting thousands of artificial satellites around the third planet." "Weapons? Platforms?" Ji-hoon asked. "No, sir. They appear to be communication devices and some kind of positioning system. There are also what look like weather monitoring stations." Dong-wook studied his supernatural detection equipment. "Sir, I am not reading any dimensional disturbances. No ghost activity. No demon energy signatures. No signs of supernatural creatures at all." Ji-hoon frowned. "That cannot be correct. Check your equipment." "Equipment is functioning normally, sir. Whatever supernatural forces the humans are fighting, they are not detectable from space." Soo-jin activated the long-range visual sensors. The image of Earth appeared on the main screen. The crew stared in amazement. Instead of a dark, terrifying world covered with graveyards and monster lairs, they saw a beautiful blue and green planet. White clouds swirled over vast oceans. Green land masses showed signs of organized agriculture. Bright lights indicated large cities. "It looks peaceful," whispered Min Seo. "Impossible," Ji-hoon muttered. "This must be some kind of illusion. Humans are probably using advanced technology to hide the true horror of their world." But as they observed longer, the evidence became harder to ignore. Earth looked like any other civilized planet. There were no signs of constant warfare, no burning cities, no armies of monsters roaming the landscape. "Sir," Sung-ho reported, "I am detecting normal space traffic around the planet. Small vessels, moving between the surface and orbital stations. Their movements are calm and organized. There is no sign of panic or emergency." Dr. Wonbin studied the psychological readings from his long-range scanners. "Sir, the emotional patterns I am detecting from the planet's surface show normal civilized activity. Some stress, some happiness, some sadness, but nothing like the constant terror we expected." Begin intercepting their current communications, Ji-hoon ordered. Let us hear what they are talking about today. Min-seo adjusted her equipment and soon human voices filled the bridge. But instead of panicked reports about monster attacks, they heard weather forecasts, news about politics and sports, and discussions about economic matters. Where are the emergency broadcasts? Asked Dong-wook. Where are the warnings about supernatural attacks? The crew listened for hours. They heard humans talking about their daily lives, their jobs, their families. They heard music, comedy shows, and educational programs. But they heard nothing about zombies, vampires, or demons. Sir, Soo-jin said slowly, I am detecting something strange. What? I'm picking up more of those horror recordings we studied, but they are being broadcast along with other entertainment programs. There are also advertisements for food, vehicles, and household products. She transferred the signal to the main speakers. The crew heard the familiar sounds of humans fighting monsters. But then the recording stopped, and a cheerful voice began talking about a product called soap. Why would they advertise soap during a monster attack? Asked Min-seo. Maybe soap is a weapon against supernatural creatures? Suggested Dong-wook. But Soo-jin was already analyzing more broadcasts. She found the same pattern everywhere. Horror recordings mixed with advertisements, music, and other entertainment. Sir, she said, her voice filled with growing amazement, I think we need to reconsider our interpretation of the human recordings. What do you mean? Look at this. She played a recording that showed humans fighting zombies. But at the end, instead of a report about casualties, there were names of humans listed as actors and director. Actors? Ji-hoon repeated. And this. She played another recording. This time, after the scary story ended, there was additional footage showing the monsters and victims laughing together and discussing how they created the scary scenes. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Are you suggesting, Ji-hoon said slowly, that these recordings are not real? Sir, I believe we may have made a serious error in our analysis. Before Ji-hoon could respond, alarms began beeping throughout the ship. Sir, Seung-ho called out, we are being scanned by some kind of detection system from Earth. Red alert, Ji-hoon commanded. Prepare for combat. But instead of weapons fire, they received something unexpected. A radio transmission in multiple languages. Unknown vessel, this is Earth traffic control. You have entered our solar system without identifying yourself. Please state your origin and purpose. The voice was calm, professional, and completely unafraid. Ji-hoon stared at the communication panel. After months of preparing for the most dangerous species in the galaxy, first contact with humans was beginning with a polite request for identification. Admiral Ji-hoon stared at the communication panel for a long moment. The human voice was still waiting for a response. After months of expecting to face the most terrifying species in the galaxy, this calm professional greeting was not what he had prepared for. Sir, communications specialist Min-seo whispered. How should we respond? Ji-hoon made a decision that would change galactic history. Open a channel. This is Admiral Ji-hoon of the Galactic Alliance vessel Stellar Guardian. We come in peace and wish to establish first contact with your species. There was a pause on the other end. Then a different voice came through the speakers. This one sounded excited. Did you say Galactic Alliance? As in aliens? Real aliens? Dr. Wanbin, the ship's psychologist, quickly analyzed the emotional tone. Sir, they sound surprised and happy, not afraid or aggressive. This is Dr. Sarah Park of the United Earth Science Council, the new voice continued. We have been hoping for this day for decades. Welcome to our solar system. Admiral Ji-hoon looked around his bridge. His crew was just as confused as he was. Where was the aggression they expected? Where were the threats and demands for battle? Dr. Park, Ji-hoon replied carefully, we would like to arrange a meeting to discuss our two civilizations. Of course, we have prepared for this possibility. Would you prefer to meet on a neutral space station, or would you like to visit Earth directly? The crew of the Stellar Guardian exchanged worried looks. Visit Earth? The planet of supernatural horrors? We will meet on a neutral station, Ji-hoon replied quickly. Understood. We will send coordinates for our orbital station Harmony 1. Our diplomatic team will meet you there in 12 hours. After the connection ended, the bridge was quiet for a long time. Sir, Dong-wook said finally, they do not act like warriors, who spend their lives fighting monsters. No, Ji-hoon agreed. They do not. Dr. Wanbin was studying his psychological readings. Sir, the emotional patterns I detected were curiosity, excitement, and happiness. These are not the emotions of a species living in constant fear. Cultural analyst Soo-jin was working frantically at her station. Sir, I have been analyzing more human broadcasts. I think I understand what happened. Explain. The recordings we studied are not documentaries of real events. They are fictional stories created for entertainment. The bridge fell silent again. Entertainment? Min-seo repeated. Look at this. Soo-jin put a human broadcast on the main screen. It showed the same type of horror content they had studied, but now they could see the full context. Notice how the scary story is surrounded by advertisements for normal products. Notice how there are credits listing the names of people who created the story. Notice how there are reviews where humans discuss whether the story was good or scary, as if being scary was the goal. Admiral Ji-hoon felt something he had never experienced before. Complete embarrassment. Are you telling me that we have spent 6 months preparing for war against a species because we misunderstood their entertainment? Yes, sir. I believe that is exactly what happened. 12 hours later, Admiral Ji-hoon and a small diplomatic team boarded the human space station Harmony 1. The station was clean, bright, and peaceful. Soft music played in the corridors. Human artwork decorated the walls. The human diplomatic team was led by Dr. David Kim, Earth's first ambassador to alien species. He was a small, friendly man who seemed genuinely excited to meet them. Welcome, Dr. Kim said warmly. This is the greatest day in human history. Indeed, Ji-hoon replied stiffly. We have much to discuss. The meeting took place in a comfortable conference room. Dr. Sarah Park was there, along with several other human scientists and diplomats. They all seemed happy and curious about their alien visitors. Before we begin formal discussions, Dr. Kim said, we are curious about something. Our radio telescopes detected unusual activity in your home systems over the past 6 months. It looked like military preparations. Is there some kind of threat we should know about? Admiral Ji-hoon felt his face grow warm with shame. How could? He explained that the entire galaxy had been preparing for war because they misunderstood human movies. There has been a misunderstanding, he said carefully. Dr. Park leaned forward with interest. What kind of misunderstanding? We intercepted your entertainment broadcasts, the ones that show humans fighting supernatural creatures. The humans looked confused for a moment. Then Dr. Kim's eyes widened with understanding. You mean horror movies? Horror movies? Fictional stories designed to scare people for fun. Movies about zombies, vampires, monsters, that sort of thing. The humans began to smile. Then they began to laugh. Oh no, Dr. Park said between giggles. You thought horror movies were documentaries? Admiral Ji-hoon wanted to disappear. Yes. Dr. Kim tried to stop laughing but could not quite manage it. I'm sorry, Admiral. I don't mean to be rude, but the idea that anyone would think Night of the Living Dead was a historical record is just hilarious, Dr. Park finished. So humans do not really fight zombies? Asked Dr. Wanbin. Zombies are not real, Dr. Kim explained. They are imaginary creatures we invented for scary stories. What about vampires? Werewolves? Demons? All fictional. We made them up. Admiral Ji-hoon felt the last 6 months of galactic panic collapse around him. So your world is not filled with supernatural threats? Our world is quite peaceful, actually. We have normal problems like any civilization, economic issues, political disagreements, environmental challenges, but no monsters. Dr. Park looked concerned. Admiral, What exactly did you think about humans based on those movies? Ji-hoon explained how the entire galaxy had interpreted horror movies as evidence of humanity's dangerous nature. He described the military preparations, the quarantine, plans, the fear that had spread across 53 civilizations. The humans listened with growing amazement. You thought we were dangerous because we make scary movies? Dr. Kim asked. We thought you were the most dangerous species in the galaxy, Ji-hoon admitted. Dr. Sarah Park was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then she said something that surprised everyone. In a way, Admiral, you might be right. What do you mean? Think about it. We are so safe, so successful as a species that we have to create imaginary dangers for entertainment. We have eliminated most real threats from our world. We have enough food, comfortable homes, medical care, education. Our lives are so secure that we seek out artificial scares for fun. Ji-hoon had not considered this perspective. What other species, Dr. Park continued, is so advanced that they turn their ancient survival fears into recreational activities? What other civilization is so successful that they need to invent imaginary monsters because the real world is too safe to be exciting? Admiral Ji-hoon realized that Dr. Park was right. In trying to avoid humans because they seemed dangerous, the galaxy had missed the truth. Humans were not dangerous because they were primitive and violent. They were remarkable because they were so advanced that they had made violence obsolete. Dr. Park, he said slowly, I believe we have much to learn from your species, and we have much to learn from yours, Admiral. Perhaps this misunderstanding was actually the perfect introduction. Now we both know that communication is very important when dealing with different cultures. As the meeting continued, Admiral Ji-hoon began to understand that first contact with humans would be nothing like what the galaxy expected. Instead of facing a terrible threat, they had discovered a species that might teach them something valuable about success and security. But he dreaded making his report to the Galactic Council. How do you explain to 53 terrified civilizations that they had been afraid of fictional movies? The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the most uncomfortable meeting in the organization's history. Representatives from 53 civilizations sat in complete silence as Admiral Ji-hoon delivered his report. To summarize, Ji-hoon said, his voice steady despite his embarrassment, humans do not fight supernatural creatures. The recordings we analyzed were fictional entertainment created for pleasure. Zombies, vampires, and demons do not exist on Earth. The silence stretched on for several minutes. Then Representative So Young from the Verdanian Council spoke up. Admiral, are you telling us that we spent 6 months preparing for war because humans like to scare themselves for fun? That is correct. Another long silence. General Da-hyun from the Crimson Plain stood up slowly. His red skin had turned a darker shade that indicated deep shame among his people. Our entire military force has been training to fight imaginary creatures, he said quietly. We developed new weapon systems, we created battle strategies. We prepared our soldiers for supernatural warfare. All because we misunderstood human entertainment. Trade Minister Boram activated her economic displays. The numbers showed the massive costs of the past 6 months. The economic impact of this misunderstanding is enormous, she announced. 53 civilizations spent billions of credits preparing defenses against a threat that does not exist. We moved colonies away from human space. We canceled trade expeditions. We redesigned our entire galactic security system. Dr. Chan Wu, the expert on dangerous species, looked especially embarrassed. His people, the scholars of Andromeda, were supposed to be the wisest analysts in the galaxy. I compared human entertainment to our database of real threats, he said slowly. I declared them the most dangerous species we had ever encountered, based on fictional movies. But anthropologist Yuna was not laughing. She had been trying for months to tell everyone that something was wrong with their interpretation. Now she finally had their attention. Fellow representatives, she said, standing up. While our analysis was incorrect, we may have accidentally discovered something much more important than we realized. The council turned to look at her with curiosity. Think about what humans have actually shown us, Yuna continued. They are a species so successful, so secure, that they create imaginary dangers for entertainment. What does that tell us about human civilization? Strategic analyst Young Ho activated his own displays. He had been thinking about this question since Admiral Ji-hoon's report. It tells us that humans have solved problems that most species struggle with for thousands of years, Young Ho said. They have eliminated most real threats from their world. They have created a society so safe that their biggest excitement comes from pretend dangers. The council began to murmur with interest. Consider the implications, Young Ho continued. Humans do not fight wars among themselves anymore. They have eliminated starvation, disease, and most natural disasters as major threats. They have created such abundance that they need to invent fictional problems to keep their minds engaged. Economic analyst Hai Wan stood up with sudden excitement. That explains their entertainment industry. We thought it was evidence of violence, but it is actually evidence of incredible success. Only a species with unlimited resources and perfect safety could afford to spend time and money creating elaborate fictional dangers. The mood in the chamber began to shift from embarrassment to fascination. Religious leader Sunmi spoke from her meditation platform. We declared them cursed by supernatural forces. But the truth is the opposite. They are so blessed, so advanced, that they have transcended the normal struggles of existence. Ambassador Kyung-soo, who had led the original panic about humans, now saw the situation from a completely different perspective. Representatives, he announced. I believe we have been asking the wrong question. We asked whether humans were dangerous. We should have been asking how they became so successful. Dr. Yoon-soo from the Crystalline Collective accessed her research data. I have been analyzing human society structure based on their real broadcasts, not their entertainment. Their level of social organization is remarkable. She projected holographic displays showing human cities, transportation systems, and communication networks. Look at this evidence. They have eliminated poverty in most of their world. They have education systems that reach almost every individual. They have medical technology that has extended their lifespans and eliminated most diseases. They have communication systems that connect their entire planet instantly. General Da-hyun studied the military implications. Their defensive capabilities are not based on weapons but on having eliminated the need for conflict. They have created abundance so complete that war is no longer necessary. But what about their combat abilities? Asked Captain Min-ho. The training exercises showed that humans are extremely effective fighters. Admiral Ji-hoon answered this question based on his conversations with human diplomats. Humans retain fighting skills as recreational activities and emergency preparation. But they channel these abilities into sports, games, and entertainment instead of actual warfare. They have turned survival instincts into forms of play. The implications began to sink in across the chamber. Trade Minister Bo-ram recalculated her economic projections. If humans have achieved post-scarcity economics, they represent the most valuable trading partners in the galaxy. They could teach us how to eliminate resource conflicts. And their entertainment industry, added cultural specialist Won Jin, represents a completely new form of economic activity. They have created entire industries based on artificial experiences. This could, revolutionize how we think about leisure and happiness. But the most important realization came from strategic analyst Young Ho. Representatives, we have been thinking about humans backwards. We feared them because we thought they were dangerous. But the real question is, how do we learn from a species that has made danger obsolete? The chamber erupted in excited discussions. Representatives began making urgent communications with their home worlds, but this time with a completely different message. Ambassador Yeon-soo from the Peaceful Worlds Alliance stood up to address the council. I propose we change our approach to human contact entirely. Instead of quarantine and military preparation, we should be requesting educational exchanges. Humans may have the answers to problems that have plagued galactic civilization for millennia. The vote was unanimous. All 53 civilizations agreed to pursue peaceful contact and learning opportunities with Earth. But the real irony was yet to come. Within 3 months of the truth being revealed, Earth became the most popular destination in the galaxy. Not because humans were dangerous, but because aliens wanted to experience what they had mistaken for documentaries. Tourism director Mi Jin was overwhelmed with requests from alien visitors who wanted to experience human horror entertainment for themselves. "You mean you want to be scared on purpose?" she asked a delegation of crystal beings from Vega Prime. "We have never experienced artificial fear in a safe environment," explained their representative. "Our species has always been afraid of real dangers. The idea of choosing to be frightened for enjoyment is fascinating to us." Soon, Earth's entertainment industry was flooded with alien tourists. Haunted houses that had been designed to scare humans were now packed with visitors from across the galaxy. The peaceful ones from Kepler 442b discovered that experiencing fake danger made them appreciate their real safety even more. The warrior species from Crimson Plains found that horror movies gave them the excitement of battle without anyone getting hurt. Even the super-intelligent species found value in human entertainment. The scholars of Andromeda discovered that horror stories helped them understand emotion and fear in ways that pure logic could not. Human director Park Jin-woo found himself creating horror movies for audiences he had never imagined. "I never thought I would be directing a zombie film for beings made of pure energy," he told his assistant. "But apparently, even energy beings like to be scared sometimes." The transformation was complete. Earth went from being the most feared planet in the galaxy to being its most popular vacation destination. The same entertainment that had terrified alien governments now provided joy and excitement to alien tourists. Travel guide Lee Jun-ho led groups of nervous alien visitors through haunted attractions. "Remember," he told a group of trembling crystal beings, "none of this is real. The monsters are actors in costumes. The blood is made from corn syrup. You are completely safe." But the aliens did not want to feel safe. For the first time in their lives, they wanted to experience controlled danger. They wanted to feel their hearts race and their minds panic, all while knowing they were actually protected. The final irony came when the Galactic Council officially declared Earth a cultural heritage site of universal importance. The same planet they had wanted to quarantine was now considered so valuable that it needed special protection. Ambassador Kyung-soo, in his final report to the Council, summarized the entire experience. "We learned that our first impression of humans was completely wrong, but we also learned that being wrong led us to a truth we never expected. Humans are not dangerous because they fight monsters. They are remarkable because they have made real monsters unnecessary."